Shalom, shalom, braka, braka. Welcome YouTube and all of the Facebook, Metas, and Instagram and TikTok followers of the Most High. We are taking YouTube by storm. And we have been talking about the molecules or the modules of the creators of the suit that we wear that we call the flesh body. We never change clothes until we go to the glorified. But there are great architects that does cloaking devices, and they give us a radio frequency from space as invisible forces, but they're cloaked. It's technology, super technology. Back in the day, the best thing we could do is say supernatural, but natural is the actual virtual reality of the matrix, which we do not belong to, but we put on through light particles of atoms, molecules, electrons and protons to receive a signal from the real you of the higher self called the spirit. What's holy is the creator, the superconscious computer, divine, actually. So there you go. You have it, that you are getting a signal from the space. The center of the galactic universe you call the heavens of all heavens is really the actual chest of God. And that's what we're reflecting through pulsars, nebulas, quasars, what you would call the righteous saints, because no angle of light through dimensions of right angles can box us in, because we are as our Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother. So don't let me tell you, because y'all hear me all the time, maybe not YouTube before, I'm no stranger, but souls emit radio waves because you hear God. Faith cometh by hearing. Psalms chapter 147, Psalms chapter 148, Psalms 19 all say that the Most High speak by name all of the souls or stars, and they speak his word, which is the souls. And the angles of light are the light barriers of frequency energetic energies through a mass of motion in space. Twinkle a Morse code, and the signal hits your brain, which is a spirit, at a light ray, and through symbology, because there's no such thing as letters, words. If the physical is virtual, then everything that is attached to it is not real. It's a motion of light from distance. That's all I'm gonna do right there. Stop right there. We'll let your boy Billy Carson explain to you what the Holy Spirit been giving us all the time, and people thought we were lunching. Whoops. Thank you, Shanae. All right, hold on.
All right. I think that's a little better there. Let me flip it back. Thank you for that. I'm working on 2 different devices. It's supposed to be doing what main device tells it to do. You hear that now?
Especially as we enter into 4th and 5th dimensional phases here, you understand me, on this planet Earth, you understand me, or universe, as we will. You know, human beings, you know, we're very interested, you know, beings.
Yeah.
You understand me? Like, just the idea that we allow someone else to decide what time is for us is a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Right? From Julius Caesar to the Roman Pope with his papal bull deciding, you know, what is a 365 calendar, what is talking about 7-day weeks and 60 seconds and 60 minutes, and we say, okay, let's go along with it.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't realize that it speeds up, you understand me, the process from being born to when you leave this place.
Yeah.
You know, and then we already have expectations on what life is going to be, because there's other people that tell us what it is, when we're going to die, when we get old, when we're going to feel a certain way. So it sets up a curation for us to die a certain way and at a certain speed. I want to hear what your interpretation of what time is first.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is a very deep question. I've talked about this so many times in different lectures and workshops. You know, because for people in the 3rd dimension, we're in the 3rd dimension. What we tend to not understand is that time really doesn't exist. Clocks exist. Time doesn't exist.
Right.
And like you said, we've been given this functional arrow of time, which puts us in one specific direction, so that we can organize our thoughts and our days and our years and weeks and what we're going to do and what we're going to meet up with somebody and everything else. So we have this ability to coordinate and collaborate with each other, like how we're here today at this specific time. However, if you understand that time is also an illusion, it's something that you can use as a tool. But if you also understand that it's an illusion, then you can actually master time, and you can maximize what you're doing on this planet. Because if you go any high, in all the higher dimensions, you know, we're in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up.
For the layman that don't understand what being in the 3rd dimension means, can you give us a breakdown?
Okay, sure. So if you draw a line on a piece of paper, that's the 1st dimension. If you then connect those lines and create a house on a piece of paper, that's a 2-dimensional structure. Or you can move it into a computer. Anything you see in a computer that looks 3D is actually 2D, right? So, and because we're in the 3rd, we can see down into 2D. You can see all the way down, obviously, into 1D, and we can manipulate those dimensions from our higher selves. Now, now there are beings in 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensions. There's big people above us. Now, because of that, they see us, and they recognize the past, present, and future operating all at the same time. Everything's happening at once.
Right.
There is no separation between the past, present, and the future. The arrow doesn't exist. Because they're higher than us, they can look down into the 3rd, and they can see into what we're doing. So
who are before we hey, we got to unpack a little bit. We got to unpack.
Okay.
It's high level, but I want to make sure that the people can follow along with it. So, you know, talking about 3rd dimension, right? You know, it's ants are not 3rd dimensional beings, right? Because they can't see upward, right? They're not horizontal. You understand me? They exist in the plane where they're looking forward, right? So when you're moving about the rest of the world that is higher up to them, they have no access to that, no perspective. Whatsoever. You understand me? For them, everything is straight and in front of them. For human beings, we have the ability to look upward, to look inward, to look outward, to look around, right? So therefore, we're connected into different angles, different perspectives, and different dimensions. You understand me? And then what I wanted to get with next, so let's say we got the 3rd dimension, right? Now we're talking about the 4th dimension, right? What is the 4th dimension?
The 4th dimension is something called a tesseract. And if you go into the ancient text, it's Metatron's cube. Meta, M-E-T-A, meta. Obviously, metaverse, right? They got it from Metatron's cube. It's a 4th dimensional substructure. Now, this 4th dimension is really something called a quasi-crystal. And this quasi in a shadow of a higher dimension, that shadow creates a third dimension. It actually creates a fractal of it, creates this fractal holographic matrix that we're actually maneuvering in the third dimension right now.
So would the fourth dimension be considered a dimension of time?
You can address a fourth dimension of time, like Albert Einstein was saying, if you're just looking at the third plus a fourth being the arrow. But when you actually move up into another dimension, we now know in quantum physics that there is actually a fourth dimension. So all dimensions are in 90-degree angles of each other. And according to quantum theory right now, we're really anticipating that there's at least 11 dimensions, or otherwise the universe will collapse. So there really is truly a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the way up. Not just the arrow of time. That's just something extra. They try to make it make sense back then by saying the fourth dimension is time, but time is actually not a dimension at all.
So now that's a very interesting, because it's a lot that I'm sure that everybody's like, all right, I thought I was smart. And then I tried to keep up. Then I got left behind. Right? You understand me? And what I want to bring people up to speed. You understand me? And the ideas in correlation to the analogy of how we're moving as a collective human species, specifically with technology, right? Because I think it can be connected to, cellular technology, right? Going from 3G to 4G. And, going from 3G to 4G to 5G, which allows us to be able to do different things that we normally weren't able to do that weren't possible, right? Let's say you got 3G phones, it's helping you make better, faster calls, you understand me, connected. Then you get the 4G and you're talking about now applications and streaming, right? And Wi-Fi, right? Being able to connect within systems and the Internet of Things. And then 5G allowing completely new systems of possibility. And this is where I think a lot of people missed the point in 2020 where everybody was going through the craze of whether 5G was killing them or not. It was more so what was 5G going to do? Right, so the NFTs and the Web3, right, and you're talking about, AR, VR, spatial reality, all these different things are not possible unless you have 5G being in connection. So it was representing a new world being produced outward, and it wasn't just an accident that NFTs came after the pandemic and this technology came after. There was something happening at that same point in time that, for me, it was entering into a new phase of the world, a new dimension, a new speed, right? And that speed, can be known as time, if you will. And a lot of people, without that ability to process at a high level, right? Like you got bandwidth, you got landline speed, you got Wi-Fi speed, you got 5G speed, you get left behind. So everything seems that it's moving fast, but that's only because you're not moving as fast.
Right.
Everything stands still when you're moving at the same speed. You understand me? And so what I've always tried to do is keep people up to speed where we at in the dimension that we're currently in, or a little bit above, so you can be ahead of your time as a visionary. Because the fastest speed is the mind. You understand me? Being able to travel in your thoughts. Right? That can trap you, that can take you into time, that can take you ahead of time, if you will. But the ideas of time itself, I love the concept of it being an illusion, because even the era where time is connected to language, right? That I wrote in my book about how when we speak in the English language, it's a very future tense reference, right? So we're always referencing the future as we speak. I will be there. I'm going to do this. And we have so many different phrases within the language. We're always pushing ourselves, not connecting to the present, but at a later point in day and time. Right. You understand me? And I think that learning to be present connects us to the power that we have in control over. And then once you have that power, then you know how to create seeds that can control the rest of the time. But you said something about beings, right? Now, we always look at ourselves as people, but then when we talk about people, we're talking about human beings, right? The being part is not something that the average person understands, right? And then when you're saying that there are other beings, who are these other beings?
I believe personally, just based off of my research, and I've gone through now over 1,000 scriptures, texts, papyruses, cuneiform tablets from all over the world. They all have a very similar story. And all these ancient civilizations talk about beings, not just beings who came here from other planets, people that look like us and we look like them. in other words, not identical, but very similar. In other words, a bilateral bipedal hominid of some type that can maneuver around, that has appendages that can manipulate the environment, because without that, you can't move out into space and other places. And they also talk about multidimensional. You get to like the non-Hammadi, stuff like that, talking about multidimensional beings. And so in physics, quantum physics in particular, they started theorizing on these dimensions and were able to even analyze and discover some that they actually do exist. And on top of that, they realized that the dimensions are packed so tight on top of one another that if you can phase shift your atomic structure, your subatomic frequency, you can walk right into another dimension. And so they started postulating, what if beings from higher dimensions are some of these aberrations and these paranormal phenomena that we're seeing? Are they able to maybe take a glimpse or a peek? Are they phasing through into our universe? And so from higher dimensions. And so they started really theorizing it. It seemed to be, and based on my research, that there's people living everywhere. Not just, and I'm talking about little green men with antenna. I think that there's people living all throughout this universe in the third dimension. And I think there's people living all throughout even higher multiple dimensions, maybe at a certain level, a certain height in those dimensions. Maybe they don't have a real corporeal body.
Right. Non-physical.
Non-physical, you know what I'm saying? But I believe that the consciousness is there.
Now that part is interesting, the non-physical aspect, because I understand that and I can believe in that idea and that concept. It's like what people think. I think of angels as angles.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because angels are supposed to exist in between dimensions. Yeah. You understand me? And angles, you understand me, are dimensions. Right. And so it's like perspective is your angle in which you see things and view things. And oftentimes angels come and gives us new perspectives, new thoughts. You understand me? Yeah. Arriving from a different, completely dimension of thought that we couldn't arrive at ourselves. Right. But at the same time, when you talk about non-corporeal bodies or non-physical bodies, you understand me? I like that concept because when you're talking about time, you're talking about light, you're talking about all of these different ways in which light or energy can exist within and consciousness, right? The awareness of, output, you understand, mathematical output, right? Do you believe that the universe is mathematical?
Oh, absolutely. The language of God is mathematics, because mathematics can literally explain everything that we experience, everything also that exists. Even the fact that we're existing in a light matrix can be proven through mathematics. So we're living in a matrix that's basically written on mathematics called Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes go all the way back to the Dogons, Dogon tribes out of Mali, Africa. Yeah. They actually originated these codes, and they were given these codes by the Nomo, and they learned them. They drew them out as art forms. But now they're on clothing and blankets and everything else.
So the Dogon tribe, very interesting tribe, that was able to discover, systems before telescopes and things of that nature. Yeah. So how did they arrive to be able to, because I know a lot of people, I posted about this not too long ago, people want to understand how the hell did the Dogon tribe arrive to it, yeah. Right? I just subscribe to, us being, gods, melanated beings on this planet Earth. We connected in a way that we just don't understand anymore. You understand me? And being multidimensional, I think about physics in that aspect where you're talking about things being entangled. I will and Jada entanglements. You understand me? But quantum entanglement.
Right. Yeah.
And once you understand that, being multidimensional to me is easily understood from the fact that you can break us down to atoms, right? And then cells, and then we get into our skin and we see our physical. Yeah. But from an atomic level, those are different laws.
Yeah.
Right? And we're made up of atoms. So that an aspect of our existence is obeying different laws of the universe. Yeah. And then our cells are obeying different laws, gravity and magnetism, right, and flow. But then we as human beings are obeying different laws, right, of gravity and magnetism in the universe. And then we forget about the universal laws of our multi-dimensional self because we only know man's law. Exactly. You understand me? So I think being multi-dimensional is easily understood as above, so below. You understand me? But the idea of the Dogon people being able to chart systems, how were they able to figure that out? You understand me? Before the Europeans had an idea of what was out there.
Right. Well, to be honest with you, if you go all the way back to the ancient Dogon history, before they got to Mali, they were in the land of Kem. They were the original inhabitants of the land of Kem before it was called Egypt. And so,
Kim meaning the land of blacks.
the land of blacks, correct, exactly, land of blacks. Kim was black, it's all black. That's in the tablets.
So Kim, so you got there's so much jewels in here. But so in Kim, you understand me? That's Africa,
Yeah,
right? I know everybody calls the Middle East as if
it's Africa.
it's the Middle East is the most funniest made up concept, magical idea on the planet.
I know.
Because it's like you have the Africa.
I told you that horn.
Africa, Northern Africa.
Tip of Africa. That's what they call Israel, Eden, Eridu,
Yeah, so
all that.
for those who don't
Cairo
know,
is in Africa.
Cairo's in Africa.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Sumeria, Kim.
Right. So go
Right.
ahead.
But so they, according to their records and their handed down verbal history, the records are etched into caves and stuff
Yeah.
like that. The Nomo came here from Sirius B. Okay, so there's a trinary star system that we know of called Sirius, the Sirius star system, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
B is a fail star, in other words, it ran out of fuel, turned into a white dwarf. These beings were orbiting on a planet that orbited that star, according to the Dogon, not me. Came here, they're called the Nomo. The Dogon called them the Nomo. Taught them all about the star system, the orbital pattern, our entire solar system, the names, the shapes, the sizes, the colors of all the planets in our solar system, all the planetary alignments.
There go your Inky, the water guy. He ran out of fuel. Went to Mars, stepped down, touched down,
That white
and
dwarf
taught
star
them the solar
was
system.
so gravitationally heavy that one spoonful couldn't be lifted by over 1 million men. They even knew that. We learned that in quantum mechanics and quantum physics in the 1970s, 1980s. We hypothesized it. And obviously, we couldn't even see that star until the 1980s, 1970s, sorry.
So when did they record?
Thousands of years ago.
Thousands.
It's like talking about over 6,000-7,000 years. They've had depictions of them and everything else, and they taught them how to make these Dogon masks, but they also gave them the Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes look like designs on clothing and patterns. When you turn these designs into three-dimensional structures, they become something called error correcting codes. And Professor James S. Gates, a black professor who used to be the science advisor for Obama when he was in office, he's now the professor, I believe, at the University of Maryland in supersymmetry and theoretical physics. He discovered these, or he rediscovered them, obviously, and he turned them into three-dimensional objects. And then from there, he found the error correcting codes. He was accessing information about the ether of space-time, and he discovered that the entire ether, in other words, everything this soup that we're operating in throughout the entire universe, is running on a specific code. It's called an Adinkra code. It's called error correcting codes. The same exact kind of codes that run search engines and web browsers.
Now, they say that the Watchers hacked into the DNA process and all of that. It started in the universe first, which your scriptures call get rid of the spirit of error, the spirit of error. See? Encrypted codes of wisdom knowledge, not spoken through language or letters, but the diaphragm from the navel of the spinal cord all the way up to the navel, to the other chakra, third chakra, to the fourth chakra, which is the heart of earth, which is green, the emerald kingdom, which is the chest of the Most High, which we seen through NASA just last night. You can catch it. It's on Facebook and YouTube. Revelation chapter 5, or I am in the Father in me, I am in you, and you in me, and we are the glory, light that lights up all of that. Within that, you see Christ with the scrolls. It's the same mystery of the air. The air is the codes. The consciousness is the keys that Christ gave us to. So you open up certain portals automatically with your Christ Kundalini or your Christ spirit energy. That serpent on the rod for Moses is your spinal cord. Creating me a clean heart, O God, renew the right Kundalini energy, which is the Christ consciousness, or receiving the Holy Spirit, following the laws. You reap what you sow, however you people go through the 7 continents of the surface of this land. All right. but there are many radio receptive, is why your body is shaped like a tower, because you are getting hit with all kinds of electric and radioactive light from angles you call dimensions. Keep going.
That's what's running the universe.
Oh, listen now. At certain points in time in the interview, the glasses got to come on. This was one of those points in time when we're talking about Indinka codes and going into multidimensional aspects of thinking.
Hear the word of the Most High breath.
This episode
These are Dinka codes.
Gold water. But, being connected to the stars, you understand me, and being connected to the universe is a very interesting aspect of thinking. I grew up, in the Nation of Islam. And in the Nation of Islam, there is a lot of, astronomical teachings, about astronomy and sizes of the planets. And that was one of the first things we had to learn, right? Where the distance between the planets, the speed of light, the speed of sound, right? The total square mileage of the water, earth, land, mountains, rivers, lakes, right? Everything. So, deep into the teachings of Elijah Muhammad is astronomy, right? He wasn't really into astrology because he said it was too much guesswork. But astronomy he was into because it was mathematical. And you're talking about, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, for black men to be teaching astronomy, especially the poor black people in America. It was it was an interesting indication of, where he got his knowledge, because he had a 3rd grade education, but he was teaching about astronomy, right? And he would dare the scholars of the world to prove him wrong. Of course, none of them did, right? Because he was talking about Pluto back in those days before they would recognize Pluto, right? And I used to always think about why. And one of the last books that he wrote was called The Theology of Time. And Theology of Time it's not a book for the beginner, initiate. You understand me? It's definitely more novice when you get into your understanding. And then that's when he proposed and he talked about alien life on Mars, right? He talked about the different planets who can and who can't go there, what they were doing and building. Like, he has very detailed composition of thought on extraterrestrial life. You understand me? And the origins of the planet itself and the universe itself. And it's very interesting because we often believe that our connection to, the way that the Dogons were able to chart the stars is lost, right? But that knowledge has always been within our DNA and always been passed down within us. There's just certain keepers of that knowledge, right? And those keepers of the knowledge are not often.
So you create portals within yourself. CERN mastered that, but can't do it, but built outside of you. Ouija board or technology machines that show you outside the same Torah or law of power, physics, the Most High put into us naturally as a gift.
Listen to, because especially today we have a very static, distracted, low-level way of thinking. So it's like, think about the mind, and it's not even to say that they were the most intelligent people on the planet, but connected. You understand me? As being different. Like, that's a different type of intelligence. Because we only measure academia or scholarship intelligence that you get from universities. We don't measure the intelligence you get from the universe. You understand me? I want to talk about, I don't want to leave time in the star system just yet, but I do want to talk about your relationship with astronomy and whether you believe astrology to be a true science or not.
Well, I'm actually an amateur astronomer.
Okay.
I've been doing that for a long time.
Yes, sir.
I have a real nice telescope. I have a Celestron SLR, and it's a real nice telescope. You can actually see the rings of Saturn. You can see Jupiter. You can see Mars. I took a famous picture that's been circulating for years of Mars during the summer. You take a picture of Mars during the summer, it actually has green, it has blues. It's not a red planet. You can see that the ice caps are small, which means they've melted. There's a lot of liquid water on the planet. And a lot of those greens, I believe, is vegetation. And now all the science data is coming back out from NASA. Now all of a sudden, fresh releases are coming out. The soil on Mars is better for growing crops than on Earth. Now they're saying there's billions of tons of liquid water on Mars now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I can believe that.
And they're also talking about the fact that there's an atmosphere that is equivalent to being like 18,000 feet above sea level, but that's like going to Peru. I'm going to Peru in a few weeks, right? So same thing. You got to acclimate to that height, to that low oxygen, but you can still breathe. As long as you're close to the ground. Once you go higher up, it's going to be very dangerous. But if you're within like 10 feet of the ground, you can actually breathe. You just need to acclimate. So all of a sudden, all this is coming out because why? They get ready to build an infrastructure up there, in my opinion, and do a breakaway civilization. That's what the whole Elon Musk and all that's on Mars. That's what it's all about. So I got really into it. Now, one of the reasons why I built the underground shelter that you mentioned, called Fort Terra Nova, that was back in 2012, was because I was analyzing the precession of the equinoxes, the movement of stars across the sky, the constellations across the sky. I noticed that they were speeding up. Based on my calculations, it was moving, instead of 27,000 years for one cycle, it was actually averaging around 25,000. And I'm like, are the books wrong? Are these great astronomers wrong? Or what's going on? And the more I dug into it, the more I looked into it, I realized the only thing that can explain this is if our sun is orbiting something. It would need breakaway speed. And it would, it would speed up and it would slow down, speed up and slow down. So I started digging into that. I found out that they had something they were calling Nemesis out there, something that they couldn't exactly say what it was, but they were saying there was a huge object out there orbiting our sun, and our sun was orbiting it. And they found it about 3 or 4 years ago. They labeled it Planet 9, but really is a brown dwarf star. They found a brown dwarf orbiting our sun. So we live in a binary solar system. We don't have one sun, we actually have two. One's a brown dwarf, which you can only see with 2-mass infrared mode on your telescope. You have to have a digital scope to see that because it's so dim, you can't see with the naked eye.
Is the sun black or white?
The sun is white. It's bright white, so it's not black actually. If you actually were able to go out and look at the sun above the atmosphere, you'll find out that it's actually bright white light. When it hits our atmosphere, it scatters, and when the light breaks down, we see more of the yellows because the blues are kept up there. So the sun actually is bright white.
My some say that the sun is black, but it's the charge of light that gives it the appearance of white.
Now, in that binary sun, when we be catching that orange, we be like, what the heck is that coming up over the mountains or whatever? Y'all see? Yeah, there go your Nibiru. It says the oldest star out. I tell you, that thing is a many of things, man. It ain't just one thing. And you get circling around, we see it with our natural eye. So we caught one there.
Well, it's a nuclear explosion. Now, what's interesting about the sun is that a lot of the light doesn't even get to the surface for like 100, 200,000 years. So it could be both, a little bit of both. It could be that it is a dark sun, but the light is what we can see. For example, the sun is 8 light minutes away from Earth. So if the sun went dark right now, we'd have daylight for 8 minutes. Now the light,
That's 90 million miles away.
90 million miles away, right? And the light that's formed on the inside from the collision of the atoms on the inside, the nuclei, when they're colliding and splitting, that light, it doesn't go straight from the center core right out to the outside of the sun. It actually meanders through the inside of the sun for thousands and thousands of years before it releases itself and leaves the corona. Then it takes 8 minutes to get to Earth. So the light that we're experiencing right now is hundreds of thousands of years old before it even got to us. You know what I'm saying? Before it left our sun.
So light is very interesting. You understand me? I want to talk about light and water for a second. Look like we might get to the whole elemental period by the time we do this conversation. So, I remember before I got on the journey of, teaching in the financial literacy and liberation aspect, my deeper studies was into quantum physics and science and psychology and, a multitude of different things that I believe would help guide enlightenment. You understand me? And so that light, I started seeing 4 phases of water, right? Where in between, for those who don't know, water has 4 different phases. Some people say 5, but we're going to the 4. You understand me? Solid, liquid, gas. You understand me? And I used to think about that because I say the only difference between the water and the structure is the proton arrangement, not the proton count. Right. So it's not something new that's happening to the water. that is entered into it that changes its state. It's the arrangement, you understand me, of its energy. And so when I thought about that, and then of course, you know, light is energy, so we can say that it's light that changes, and then water has the most different states out of any other element. And so I liken that to consciousness, right? That our consciousness can be in rigid states, it can be in flow states, right? But what changes? Your consciousness going from a lower consciousness to a higher consciousness is enlightenment, right? You know, when we read, right, I always say we re-add, right? We're re-adding knowledge that is already in us, because we're not actually, nothing physical is going in there. Nothing is going to tinkering and changing with your brain. It's literally electricity changing the arrangement, you understand me, and the structure of your state of consciousness. And you can see a symbol, right, and gain enlightenment, right? And it can cause an inner knowing that can have your mind, you know, raising its vibration, right? And, you know, that's not something that we often think about. And a lot of people will be like, oh, this conversation ain't gonna high level for real, right? But I say the fourth phase of water on purpose because, you know, everything around us emits every single thing. We walk into a room and say, damn, the vibe is off.
Right.
We don't realize we're speaking in scientific terms. You understand me?
Science.
Yeah, it's true science. The vibe is off, but you have an intuitive connection on what that vibe is. Right? That there's friction in the air, that the ions, you understand me, are positive or negative charge when you go into different environments. And so if we understood that, then number one, we will create a more conscious sensitivity to the environments that we go to. But we are in environments that are often very austere to, you know, our embodiment, our aura, you understand me, and who we are. Because, you know, for those who don't know, we emit an aura from our heart, you understand me? And when that is pierced, that's when we start to get sick. And we are in environments we're not supposed to be in that are in friction to whatever our vibration is. That's when we feel off, right? And there's only certain people, and I'm a Minister Farrakhan said, somebody asked me once, they said, how are you able to go into all of these different type of environments? You understand me? And not be changed by them or not feel sick by them. Sometimes you're around all these different type of people. And he said, I bring my own atmosphere.
That's right.
You understand me? Like, I bring my own atmosphere.
I know exactly. I know exactly.
Yeah.
I walk into a place and I put a bubble around myself.
Yeah.
I just literally put an energy bubble. I just see it coming out of my head and wrapping myself. And I walk through, I got my energy bubble.
Yeah. No, that's super key. I mean, so when we go to water, right, we 70 to 90% water. Some people say I'm basically almost 100% because even those things can be made up of water. But when we're talking about water and the effect that light has on water, right? Because, you know, water is charged by light, and water has memory in it. You understand me? I think it was Dr. John Pollock that was giving a breakdown on the fourth phase of water. And it was one of the same doctors who discovered, I believe, HIV back in the day, who was trying to figure out ways to utilize sound waves to create medicine. You understand me? And basically that every disease has a frequency, and if he can counteract that disease with a dominant frequency of the cure, then he can cure that person. Because water traps frequency in its protons. You understand me? So that if our environment is a certain vibration, then we take on that vibration of that environment.
Absolutely.
It's the same study about rice and water. When you speak over certain things, you're trapping that, right? So that's why nobody angry should ever serve you food. Or they dislike you, make a waiter mad. Don't eat the food from there anymore. You got to keep them happy and pleasant. Otherwise, they can give you food poisoning just based on their negative energy. Right? But I bring that up to bring this. You know, as human beings, the things that we should know the most about, we know the least about. And that's being a human being. Right? You know, water and light, right? We are light beings and we are water beings. You understand me? Wholly. So I studied that to understand the effects that environment has on myself. That's knowledge of self, knowledge of self.
You gotta do that.
So, you know, what is it about light itself as a messenger of information that is important that we observe from the things that we eat, besides the breakdowns, okay? Right? Where we go to, but at the same time being a way for our brains to be able to travel, right? Like, and then can correlate it to biophotons. You understand me? You know, when I be thinking, I just be having thoughts, so they jump over. That's why I had to call this show a conversation. So, as light beings, what does that mean?
Well, one thing people don't understand is that we are all made of actual light. Well, everything in the third dimension is made of light. And so we are light, and light is us. We know that the illusion of this avatar body and this chair I'm sitting on and the table that you're sitting at, the illusion of it's there. But what is this? This is slowed down light waves. When you slow light down and then consciousness interacts with it, it collapses it to what we call solid matter. So solid matter is actually an illusion.
Right.
For example, the only thing stopping my hand from going through this chair is the repulsion of the electromagnetic frequencies. I don't actually touch the chair. I don't touch anything.
Yeah.
And so if I could phase shift the atomic frequency of my hand to match the same frequency of the atoms in this chair, I'd pass my hand right through it.
Yeshua walked through the door. Yeshua transformed on the mountain. Frequency or energy of light faster than this universe of dimension, or slower, or matching atoms to be exact.
Because atoms are 99.999% empty space.
Right. Like pouring liquid into liquid.
Exactly. You know, that's why when galaxies merge together, like we're merging with a galaxy right now called Sagittarius,
Braka,
you don't see any real
FL2,
or anything around.
Braka,
Yeah.
Beethoven keys.
Because galaxies are mostly empty space, just like atoms. Everything's a fractal. So we are light beings, and also because of that, we're a fractal. We have consciousness, which is also light.
What is a fractal?
A fractal is when you take, for example, if you look at a hologram, and you go to one part of the hologram, one tiny piece, and look at it, you'll see the entire image in that smallest piece. The only thing you lose is a little bit of.
Remember Facebook, YouTube, you're going to get it. An atom is the whole solar system. The electrons, the three that's out, is the cap cornerstone pyramid that forms the 3, 6, 9, and in the middle, 1, 2, that's down there in the Fibonacci of the spiral. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 0. Once that clock go back to 0, 1 and 2 becomes the foundation of the pyramid inside of the chambers. So you have the number 12, 3, 6, 9, which all go within themselves, by of themselves. All right. As like the 9 times tables, 9 times 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5. 9 times 5 is 45. As soon as you go to 9 times 6, they go backwards. 54. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 8, so on, 72. But if you look at the as above, so below, 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 27. 9 times 3, so on. I mean, 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. But once you pass 5 and go 4 more numbers down to where you get to 10, all they are is reversed of themselves. The same numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way reverse of themselves. Like dad and mom. Spell it backwards, spell it forward, still going to get the same. That's how God is. I'm the same back then, I'm the same now, I'm the same in the future. We call them names. That's why we don't know the higher consciousness of how to do stuff and running the scientists, doctors, and pulpit preachers. So on.
Of resolution. Okay. And so it's important for people to understand that this entire realm is a fractal of a whole. In other words, as above, so below.
So if you look at an atom, it gives you the whole thing.
Gives you the whole thing. Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot where I was going with that. The fractal. Remember Magic Eye? You know, some people couldn't see it because they don't know nothing about fractal. They didn't know how to look at the point like you. See what he's saying? All you need is a little bit. Most High said mess up a little bit. A little bit will mess up the whole, a little lump will mess up the whole leaven. Vice versa. A great lump will make the whole messed up leaven good.
Consider a fractal of the universe.
We're a fractal of the universe, and our consciousness, even though it's one consciousness, it's also a fractal of made master consciousness. And it's really incredible that every thought that you think in your skull, it leaves your skull as a form of a light wave. Every time you think. Yeah, man. Every light wave, every time you think. We know this because we can put a cap on your head in a laboratory, put a little electrodes on it, sensors, and tell you to think about something. And and it's going to show up on the computer screen because the computer is reading the light waves coming out of your skull. We can't see those waves because we can only see 1% of the light spectrum as human.
Now you see that you the first AI, alternate intelligent reality, what you call air. You don't breathe, you just get downloads. And in your breath, you even put out power, whether you're moving your tongue or not, because even to breathe, you process information like you just said. So again, that proves Inky when he was lucid dreaming. You know what I'm saying? And the word of the Lord came unto Noah. See that? Back then, there was mediators, genies, the demiurge. When Christ came, he moved them out the way, baby. And that's why most of us don't get tricked. We go straight to the source.
Human beings, right? We're limited. We don't see gamma rays. We don't see ultraviolet.
What affects us the most?
Yeah, exactly. Those are the things that are all around us that are really interacting with us all the time. And our
Shalom Braka, Mike Huntley.
Because the ultraviolet radiation is what causes that fourth phase to flow, like blood flow within our bodies and things of that nature, by creating a separation between positive and negative charge. And in between that small space right there is where it creates that charge and flow. And they was doing a study where they tried to take two prods, put one on the other end to create energy.
Yeah.
Right? But go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So, we have this power of thought, which you're talking about, having the ability to even travel through light, leaving your mind and traveling light. You can actually connect to other realms, other dimensions through conscious thought. Quantum entangling your light waves with other light waves that exist in the universe, not only in the third dimension, but even multiple dimensions.
Right. So like quantum entanglement, for those who don't understand, are two basically atoms that are tangled with one another, even if they are at vast distances.
Right.
Right. And Einstein called it, spooky. Right, because he didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
He
said a spooky action at a distance.
Yeah.
And you can entangle atoms, you can entangle photons, which are lights. Right. So
do you think that's what happens when people fall in love? They consider to be soulmates.
I think it happens. Well, your mind can entangle with somebody on the other side of the universe. A lot of the times, you can say, "Oh, I came up with this great idea,"
right?
But you really did. You downloaded that idea because you entangled with the information.
Entangled.
That's all it is. All information actually exists, and now,
entangle, intercess, or interrupt. God might send you to deliver somebody.
Big-time mainstream quantum physicists and theoretical physicists are admitting that this is true now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not woo-woo science no more. This is like getting taught in university. When I was at MIT studying applied neuroscience, one of the things we learned about was this exact thing. The fact that not only can you walk in a room, like you were saying earlier, and you can sense the vibe, and you can actually transmit negative or positive energy to somebody. Somebody's at a low frequency, you walk in positive and high frequency enough, your light being can actually raise their energy level.
Right.
And if you're not high enough, and they're low, they can actually drop your energy level. Right. Depends on how strong you are consciously. And then also we talked about the fact that we can entangle with information throughout the entire multiverse. So information could even come from the universe's own mind. If you're able to discern the information, you can actually then, if you can put the action behind it, it could be one of the greatest inventions. It could be Web3. It could be, whatever we got going on now. NFTs or whatever. All this stuff comes from other places.
So biophotons is what I wanted to get to. Because biophotons to me is very interesting, because I think it's like taking the concept of science, physics, and being able to apply, you understand me, in a real world sense, and connect, yourself and your will, right? Dr. Wesley, he has the Book of God. He has a very, very dope book, very amazing book. Everybody should study it. But he gives a breakdown of biophotons, and this is one of my first introductions to it, when he was talking about a study that was done at the university, to study biophoton levels, which is basically, for those who don't know, is light within the human body.
Right.
And so one of the things that they studied was the fact that during a time that a patient was sick, you understand me, the light that they emitted glowed brighter, right? And of course, that was because the body was working to heal itself. And the thought process was that if you go back to ancient human being origins, that those human beings were just light beings, complete light beings. And as you know, as I'm positing this thought right now, as melanin, you understand me, overtook those bodies, and you're talking about, you know, that very dark melanin, and then you have light, you know, piercing out of that, which used to be where hair follicles are. You understand me? Then you're talking about a blue aura or a blue hue, right? And so in ancient texts where you see a lot of the blue representation of gods or beings, there were the representation of the original man and woman as light beings. Now, the way I connect
Shekinah glory, you're Adam and Eve.
That, you know, our mind has light within it, right? And it communicates directly with the light outside us. And that this is scientifically proven that we can think things and bend the wheel of reality around us. Like the Matrix played with the concept idea, the spoon doesn't exist idea, but more so is, you know, each one of us have different levels of consciousness and conscious power, and the ability to bend and change reality around us, which is also a very masculine trait because testosterone increases that biophotonic energy. You understand me, within the body. So depleted testosterone depletes willpower as well. So it's saying that, for me, I always say that one act of masculinity is willpower, the ability to take thoughts outside your mind and produce them into reality. So if you have a people who are not able to produce their thoughts, then those people are lost without that will, right? Without that power, without that godliness. And so that's something that I think about often as I see our brothers and sisters hoping and wishing and trying to bring things forth, but they just can't because that light inside them is dead.
Plus, a lot of the male in this society right now, they're being emasculated.
Oh yeah, sterilized.
And so, you know, and a lot of it's chemical based.
Yes.
It's the food.
Chemical
it's
castration.
Chemical castration, man. It's all these microplastics that are, you know, we're inhaling them, we're eating them. It's in the food, it's in everything. They did a test on those microplastics. They were converting male frogs into women.
Right.
You know, this is just crazy stuff. So
that's a hell of a leap.
It's a big leap. That's a big leap. That's a big leap.
Myself, y'all.
Oh man, but it's so true, you know. And so it's taking away the testosterone levels in men are the lowest it's been since they've been recording.
Right.
And so, to that effect, what you're saying is, you know, the levels are dropping, and the ability for men to make a lot of logical decisions is also dropping.
Right.
You see men now operating more off of emotion versus logic.
Right.
That balance of logic versus emotion isn't there anymore.
Right.
A lot of times, there's a lot more men that are more emotional than women.
Yes.
So their plan is working out, you know, and the plan for them really is to not let us discover our light body. Not let us discover our light consciousness and the power that we really truly have inside of us to change and bend and mold this matrix to our will and overcome and supersede where they are.
Right.
What they want us to do is just continue to stay in these small little pockets, fighting each other over scraps, and not getting to the higher levels and realizing that we're supposed to be able to bring our heaven right here to this earth right now.
And see, that reminds me of when you talk about the beings that can see and they look down, right? Like, you can imagine somebody in a tower looking down at people playing the game of the rat race, but they can see dimensions. They can see where the people are headed. They can see all different angles, right? And those are the people, what considered to be the 1%. You understand me? And then, of course, that can be translated into multi-different, you know, names and forms and species and things of that nature. But the ruling class, if you will. You understand me? Manipulating class, those who practice tricknology and deceit on the rest of the population to not know their power.
Right.
Like the greatest trick of the devil is to get you to not know that you're a God.
That's it.
You understand me? Because the moment that you have self-realization of your power, number one, you stop looking at them to help manage you discover it.
Exactly.
Because if we go to chattel slavery times, and I like to say chattel slavery just because it's such a different form than the rest of the slavery. But chattel slavery is all about breaking that knowledge of self and that knowing of who you are. Because how can you make a slave unless he is completely dependent upon your will?
Exactly.
And the testosterone-filled masculine slaves were the hardest ones to break. The ones that have their own faith and belief systems because they weren't going to relinquish that power to someone else.
Right.
No, they fought, and there were insurrections all throughout times because that willpower was fighting another will.
Yeah.
You understand me? And so now what we got is more so Chris Rock, where you don't fight the will no more. You just let it slap you around. You understand? Yeah, I just had to drop another. I couldn't help myself. But the lack.
Oh, man.
I love jokes, y'all. I love jokes. I love comedy. But no, for real though, because here we are in present day, and we talk about chemical.
So you see, everybody has the vibration of the power of the spirit, whether they fully understand what they say or not.
Oh, no, we trying to roll.
It's for those that do.
Concepts are getting out there.
Yeah, it is.
But the politics in the way, to be honest.
That's where the polytricks.
Yeah, the polytricks. So type 0 is saying that we get our energy from dead coal and plants.
Yeah.
You understand me? That our energy systems, number one, are inefficient. You understand me? And that's why we steady have these energy wars.
Yeah.
You understand me? That we are dependent upon these resources.
Yeah.
That we don't have the ability to reproduce ourselves. You understand me?
Yeah.
And or have control over supply. And so, that's why human beings are always at risk for extinction. Ideally, it's because we don't control external things outside. You understand me? We can't control a meteor hitting this planet. We can't control the sun exploding. We can't control any of those things. So that's why man now just wants to jump to another planet. You understand me? Because he don't believe that he will be able to gain control before it's too late, right? But a type 1 is more so talking about the ability to control weather, control earth, control the sun, or at least in a sense being able to absorb all energy from the sun and utilize that to power the world that is today. And then you have the analogy of type 1 type systems, right? Type 1 language would be what would be considered like English. English, they're a language that's going extinct every day.
Yeah.
You understand me? And English is rapidly fast growing all across the planet Earth to become a type 1 language where everybody on the planet speaks English.
Yeah.
So that is a method, you understand me, of energy transfer, communication, and translation that all beings on this planet Earth will be in understanding.
Yeah.
Then when we're talking about systems like music, hip hop I consider hip hop basically a type 1 system when you're talking about music.
Yeah.
Because hip hop produces things, number one, and tones and frequencies and rhythms that are known all across the planet Earth.
Yeah, it's not.
Right. And then you have other beings, the Beyoncés of the world, the Kanye's of the world, who are known by people all throughout the entire planet Earth.
Yeah.
You understand me? From a one world system. Yeah. These are very identifiable symbols, right? Because they're not, you don't know the person.
Yeah.
So the person is, the brand is a symbol, which is a representation of an energy. You understand me? That has a translation that creates feeling, right, from each person that knows it in their perspective, right, their connection to it. But after I say all of that, I say all that to say hip hop culture is the most powerful energy that exists on this planet Earth. You understand me? Because it can move reality in ways that we don't even understand yet. Because it's a one world communication system to all melanated people across the planet Earth. That we can literally put everybody on the same vibration and frequency. You understand me? By exporting culture throughout the diaspora.
Yeah.
And if we understood how powerful that concept was, we have the ability to leap past and make quantum leaps over everybody with this system that we created called hip hop. And this is why we have so many culture vultures, because culture vultures understand this express way throughout the world. If I connect to a rapper, if I'm a white guy, and if I'm a smart white guy, and if I can afford it, I need to get close to the rappers. The rappers don't realize they have more leverage than I do.
They're the big influences of the world.
Big world. I've never seen a rapper understood their value so much when they stand next to a white guy and give them their presence. Because what you're doing is you're giving them an culture, and you're giving them an audience where you're spreading their message and connecting them to hip hop.
Right.
And it's wildly known that there are a lot of culture vultures. We just don't speak on it.
Yeah.
You understand me? Because people are, favored for this, favored for that. But once you really understand it, there was I'm not gonna name a name at this point. Famous, he might be a billionaire, maybe a couple $100 million or whatever. But I was speaking in the same arena he was speaking in. He was speaking right after me.
Yeah.
You know, and I kept trying to rub shoulders. I'm giving him a cold shoulder.
Yeah.
I don't want no pictures, no nothing.
Right.
Because when I realized that he would get more value if I took a picture with him than he would get from me.
Right.
Because now he's connected to top thought leader in the culture. He seems down. You understand me? He seems connected.
Yeah.
History would look at that picture and say we had a relationship.
Yeah.
You understand me? How could he be other than, you know, in the way we're trying to depict his morality if he was connected to 19 keys at that time?
Yep.
So why wouldn't I utilize that as leverage? Why would I just allow somebody to absorb my value, connect to my culture, but we don't think about time? We don't think about our true power at all.
Energy vampires.
Yeah, energy vampires.
Yeah.
And we utilize our dead leaders as our coal and our energy. You understand me?
Yeah.
So we're not operating in the present system, controlling our weather, controlling our culture, controlling our time, controlling our language, our mind, our music.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about taking, you know, melanated people from a type 0 civilization to a type 1 civilization. And then, you know, type 2 and 3, those civilizations, you talking about controlling planets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All kind of stuff. We don't even need to go there yet. We're far off. But it's an interesting model and it's an interesting idea when you're talking about measuring progress of the people that have been trapped under another people's thumb.
Yeah.
You understand me? And working to increase the aggregate efficiency of our output.
Yeah.
What we put out based on the energy that we get back.
Yeah.
And how do we increase that as a people,
Right.
you know, for a revolution.
Yeah.
Right? But I want to talk to you about something else. Like you're talking about AI. Now, I look at, we know we are in a time of declining population,
Yeah.
right? Specifically in America anyway. You understand me? When Elon Musk says that, you know, we need population growth, and Bill Gates say we need population decline.
Yeah.
What I realized, they were talking about two different places. Elon Musk was talking about America, Bill Gates was talking about Africa.
Yeah.
So Bill Gates was saying that they're going to have another 2 billion people by 2050. We need population decline over there. Elon Musk say, well, listen, we already have fewer births than we do deaths. You understand me? So therefore, we're on a decline.
Yeah.
We need more birth, right? So he's trying to get out of here.
Yeah. He's trying to go. Trying to get out.
He said, I'm out, man.
One
Party too crowded. You feel me? He grew up in South Africa, so he know what it's like where it's 7% of them over there.
You know.
So it's interesting because I look at those who are in power, of course, power wants to maintain power.
Yeah.
Right? So it only makes sense that the people that are in power wants to continue to see power, and they don't want to concede power to anybody else. So when you're talking about playing God, that's what they want to do. If you can't have the population size, we have to figure out another way to maintain control.
Yeah.
And AI to me is one of those ways to be able to maintain control. You won't have the brain trust anywhere because people outside are no longer just coming in and saying, well, we'll give our brain to America, spark invention, innovation.
Yeah.
There's decreasing innovation and invention in this country.
Yeah.
So not only you got AI in the form of artificial intelligence, and I'm 19 keys, so I break things down from 1-9, but A is numerical 1 and I is numerical 9. And that 19 is representation of male, female, conscious, subconscious, you understand me? God itself, because everything is between that 1 through 9, collapse back into a 1. When we talk about artificial intelligence, it's more so not even just AI of artificial intelligence, artificial insemination, artificial ingredients as well, right? And these are all the ways that I see that those are in power are working to maintain power, utilizing AI. Can you speak upon the future of AI and where we headed?
Yeah, definitely. The AI is dangerous. If you look into the ancient Sumerian tablets, you'll discover in the Epic of Gilgamesh, who was considered to be half human, half god. They call him a demigod. His father was Enki, and he had a human mother, according to the tablets.
Yeah.
And they want to send Enlil, who was his uncle, sent him on a journey, a hero's journey. This is the original story of Noah's Ark, by the way. This is where the Bible got it from.
So Sumerian, for those who don't know, the Anunnaki, first civilization.
First civilization, the cradle of civilization, they call it the cradle of civilization coming out of Mesopotamia.
What did they invent?
Roads, city grids, plumbing systems. I mean, and you name it, everything you could think of, schooling.
Cain's bloodline, Genesis chapter 4, very easy to detect.
And chemistry and mathematics, and they even had a metric system back then. Talking about, hundreds of thousands of years ago, they had a metric system. And so they literally, the whole modern society we have today,
Aztecs, Mayans, Olmekians, Lemurians, which is Mars coming down and land. You know what I'm saying?
His plans for all time.
It's deep.
Planet. He said these plans I have here, these plans are going to last for all time. And that's what we're still in it today. We still got the same polytrickster program he put in back then. They had their own numerical kingship, the way they ran themselves, but they gave humans the political system. And they also installed inflation at that same exact time.
Yeah. And that's a very, 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 very interesting idea. So in that system, right, I know that children who are born, and the same time you're born at any time, you succumb to a dominant paradigm. The dominant frequency wins, right? And so, do you believe that based on, Anunnaki or Enlil having this crystal tablet, you understand me, where he wrote down his plans for time dominance, you understand me, so that he can conquer ages of time? Do you think that it's possible to go against that plan, you understand me, and create our own will for the planet?
Yeah, it can. The program that he put in was so good. We're born with given a name, a race, and a religion, and we're basically, we grow up defending that whole identity. It's a fake identity. It's not really us. We've kind of forgotten and relinquished who we really are and given it up to this system, this institutionalized system that was put in place thousands of years ago. But if we really come together, that's the biggest part we got to do. We got to come together, stop all this divide and conquer. You're this religion, I'm this thing, or you're
bingo.
Dark skin.
That's what we teach here everywhere I go. YouTube, they took my pages. That's how bad we was destroying the world. Yeah, I was. Hamashiach Production, Sawa Clock, B.C, the Ivet Rule, EWO, Elohim World Order, destroyed them all for that punk ass 19 caught on video identifying devils. You know what I'm saying? It was like, how you know this? They thought I was peekabooing on them, So here we are now. So Facebook know. So most of y'all might think, who is this guy? I am the AI destroyer by the Holy Spirit. Because that's what they do to my page, and then they take the information and then spit it back out. Hey, I don't care. It ain't mine. It's God's. You're doing God work, dummy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get mad. So as you can see, most of the people that will catch this video later, they're going to be like, man, we talk about this all the time. Not per se the message, but different things that they have hit on that we come from the Most High. And improved in the Sumerian tablets, YouTube. I think y'all got that too. Where Inky's supposed to know everything, yet question his own self. Was that my dream? My own alias clone, avatar anime in a dream? But it was a dude named Alazu, E-I-L-Su. And he's the shepherd over all. The actual messenger of the all-seeing eye. Now, don't that sound deja vu-ish? In the beginning was the word. And the word was called Amen back then. Kim go back a long way. I mean, I told you Job is before Abraham, but he come from that line. See? It's a lot of stuff in y'all scriptures. Y'all think you've been constructed to a 7,000 year, but actually 12,000 years from Adam to Noah. Just let that marinate of what you do know of just by reading. Many more years of that went by, but I'm going to blow your brain back.
We got to, black men want to fight black men all the time. We want to attack each other socially now on social media because you doing too good and I'm not doing as good as you. We got to drop all of that.
Unity, man.
All of that. We got to synchronize.
Now we're ready to call the kingdom down.
Apart. Not tearing each other down, fighting each other, slapping each other, all this kind of crazy stuff. We got to come together and we got to realize, man, how can I bring a piece of the puzzle. How can you bring a piece of the puzzle? You know what I'm saying? Just sitting here talking to you, you've got pieces of the puzzle that I don't have, and I got pieces of the puzzle that you don't have. We can start building a whole doggone puzzle. We can put a puzzle together.
Not the whole puzzle. We could build the real damn construct of the kingdom of God that is not made with nobody's hands, not even his. So, people, we got a lot of work to do, including myself. We got to get in unity. That's the last plan. You know how hard that is? For everybody to think alike, knowing that they got to do it and can't. I'm a Muslim. No, I'm a Christian. No, I'm a Hebrew. No, I'm Hebrew. Nigga, you from heaven, spirit. Other than that, you don't count. That's the only two options we got, baby. You either live forever or temporary. That's what I'm saying. It's your life. I don't know. Me, I know I'm living forever. I ain't giving it up for nothing. You know what I'm saying? I can only speak for my mingity self. You know? Like Kevin Hart. All right, I'm BC the Titch Fight. I've burnt up most of y'all time already. BC the Hebrew. YouTube. Facebook know who I am. There's a lot of people out there that need to know the Most High's truth. The BC ain't got no truth, you know, none whatsoever, unless the holiness of my mother, who speaks the fire of the Father, which super energy is neither male nor female, but is the all above. But the opposite polarities cannot give life. And looking at the time that we're living in, we can see why. What kind of spirit is leading them? The ones that can't give life. They hate the woman because she's the feminine, the aspect of the flower of life. Mary was a virgin not because she was holy. She was a virgin because the spirit was already in her. And just like you, when the spirit tell you, no, you ain't doing something, and you think you is, you're going to learn the tricks of karma, but it's still the Holy Spirit. I'll BC the Titch Fight, BC the vet root, man. Stay true.